Hey, welcome to episode 139 of the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. My name is Esther, and I am almost always your host, as in I am your host for 138 episodes. Today, I am giving that honor over to my friend Melissa. She's actually going to interview me, so you get to hear that. This interview was done for our Facebook group and people who are interested in thyroid health. Because as I told you a couple episodes ago, over 18 million people just in the US have hypothyroid and are on Synthroid or levothyroxine. And so when I told my group of friends this, they were just, their minds were blown, and they said, can we interview you about it? So you are going to hear the interview that Melissa did with me, asking me about thyroid and hypothyroid. We do talk about the products that I recommend. So namely the Protandim NRF2, the NRF1. You've probably heard me talk about those before. And then she also wanted me to talk about the collagen as it relates to gut health and the mind-body GLP-1 system. Now, everything that I recommend, I always recommend with the lens of your root causes. You have to know your root causes. And when you know your root causes, then you know what could help or what will not help. You know if something is worth your time and your investment and your hope, and you know if it's not applicable to you. So if you don't know yet your root causes yet, you have to go through the Hashimoto's Decoded Root Causes Revealed mini course. It'll take you less than an hour. And by the time you're done, you will know, okay, these are the things that I need to focus on, and these are the things that I don't, because there's always recommendations. There's recommendations from pretty much everybody all across the internet. You could always be chasing different solutions, different remedies in order to get to your desired solution of feeling like yourself again, to have the energy that you once did, to have the metabolism that you once did, to have the healthy skin and the healthy hair that you once did. However Hashimoto's is affecting you, you want that gone. You want to feel like yourself again. So knowing your root causes and knowing what to pursue as far as solutions is key. You will hear Melissa reference a Facebook group, which is the Wellness Revolution. I am one of the admins in that group, and if you want admittance, put my name down and make sure then to send me a message, or on the welcome post, tag me. So that I know you came from the podcast and I can get to know you a little bit. So without further ado, here is the interview that Melissa did with me, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited that you hopped on tonight. And if you're watching the recording, I'm so thankful that you are taking some time to watch and learn more about this Ask the Expert series that we're doing for the month of March and hopefully beyond. I'm super excited. My name is Melissa Broach, and I am a certified health and life coach. I've been with our activation company for almost 10 years, and I get the honor and privilege to interview Esther Yunkin. She is a former ER nurse, and she is currently empowering women through podcasts and multiple formats to learn how to live and overcome Hashimoto's. So whoever invited you to this information invited you to learn about thyroid and thyroid function. She is a holistic educator and a mom and busy wife. So thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us tonight, Esther. I'm excited to hear all the things that you have to say. So my first question to you, and I'm going to go off script a little bit, but my first question to you is thyroid. Tell me, why are you passionate about learning about the thyroid?
Well, when I was in the emergency department, I could type levothyroxine and Synthroid, like just muscle memory. My fingers could do it automatically because it is such a common medication. And 17 years in the ER, I just knew that a lot of people were on it, but I didn't really know why. But it turns out it's one of the most common medications. About 18 million people in the United States are taking medication for their thyroid. Their thyroid is not working well. And it was one of those things where I studied hard enough to pass the test, but I could never understand what was going on. And then I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease attacking your thyroid. It is the leading cause of hypothyroidism. And at that time, I was like, well, I better figure this out because if, I had 4 years of nursing school and then 2 years of holistic health education to become an educator, and I still didn't understand thyroid. So I was like, I bet a lot of people are confused about this. So that is really why I became passionate about it, because it confused me and it's so common.
Wow. Awesome. So you said former RN, but I know you have a little bit more than that. So tell me your full background so we know who we're talking to.
So I went straight from high school to college. I was one of the lucky ones who knew exactly what I wanted to be and went to a 4-year college, left college as an RN, and I went up to Alaska because Minnesota did not have enough snow for me. And right. I did so much in Alaska because you're a teeny tiny clinic and you do everything, like even dispatch ambulances, take x-rays. And so after that, I was like, I have to be in the ER because nothing else is going to satisfy me. So I was in the emergency department around the country for about 17 years. And then I got sick and tired of putting Band-Aids on chronic things, just short-term fixes. I know you'd see the same people come back, not just the same problems come back to the ER, but we would see the same people come back. And I got sick and tired of it. I wanted to help people actually address what was going on in their health and actually heal. And so I went back to school, and now I get to do holistic health education and help people on a different level.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about this little organ called a thyroid. Explain to me briefly, because I want to make sure to honor everybody's time here, but explain to me briefly, what is it responsible for?
So your thyroid is like a butter-shaped gland. It sits at the base of your neck, like right at the front of your throat. And it is responsible kind of for providing the key to turn on the ignition of every single cell. So every single cell has mitochondria, and those provide the energy. Your thyroid provides the key to turn that on. So if your thyroid is not giving you enough keys, then your mitochondria can't turn on. If your mitochondria can't turn on, then your cell is not going to get enough energy. If your cell does not have enough energy, then whatever that cell is powering isn't going to work well. So for some people, a lot of people, it's their metabolism. When their thyroid starts to slow down, they notice their metabolism just tanks. They are trying to do everything they can to lose weight, and they just can't do it. For some people, they notice it in their hair. They start to lose their hair or the outer 1/3 of their eyebrows. Some people feel cold all of the time. Hypothyroid is one of the leading causes of depression because you think, your brain needs so much energy. So if those cells aren't working well, then what's going to suffer? It's your brain. You're going to have depression. In fact, it is the standard of practice. It doesn't always happen, but you're supposed to get your thyroid checked when you have depression, because sometimes fixing your thyroid will work better than depression medicine, because you're actually addressing what's causing the depression. So in summary, your thyroid is responsible for the function of every single cell in your body.
Wow. Thanks for that. So I know Hashimoto's is an autoimmune, and then there's hypo and hyperthyroidism, right?
Yes.
So, I know it's very in depth, but can you briefly explain the difference between Hashimoto's being autoimmune versus hyper and hypo?
Mm-hmm. So an autoimmune disease is just a disease of your immune system. Your immune system has gone haywire and it's attacking something in your body. All immune systems have that in common. And then we name them based on what they're attacking. So in this case, your immune system is attacking your thyroid. And so we call it Hashimoto's. If it's attacking something else, we might call it lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or type 1 diabetes. All of those are autoimmune diseases. So in all of those, you want to address the immune system and calm it down to get it working. But you also have to address what it's destroying. Now, Hashimoto's is your immune system attacking your thyroid, and you have typically symptoms of hypothyroid, which means your thyroid is not producing enough hormone. However, you can also have hyperthyroid symptoms because as your thyroid is destroyed, then it, releases a bunch of hormone as that part of your thyroid is destroyed. And so you can have hyper symptoms and hypo symptoms at the same time, which is incredibly confusing for the individual suffering with this. And then when they bring their symptoms to their doctor is like, well, you clearly don't have hypothyroid because that's hyperthyroid. And it's very confusing. It leads to people getting stuck in that medical limbo for years trying to get a diagnosis.
So we know fatigue, we know weight gain, metabolism, hair loss. What are other things people should be looking for to ask maybe their doctor, can we check my thyroid?
Honestly, I would recommend that if you are a woman and you are in your 30s or more, get your thyroid checked because it is so very common. And when you get your thyroid checked, your doctor's like, oh, sure, we can run a TSH, which is a common lab. And that lab is asking to know how much your brain is asking for more thyroid hormone. But what you actually want to check is sure your TSH, but you also want to check your antibody levels. Your antibody levels will show how much your body is attacking your thyroid. And those can be elevated for 10 to 15 years before you start to have symptoms. So if people are having any symptoms whatsoever and you're at the doctor, ask for a thyroid panel, including antibody levels. I feel like that is important across the board. Like I said, 18 million people in the US are on Synthroid or levothyroxine, those thyroid medications. What if 15 years before that, they would have known there was something going on and they could have taken action? What if? Would they be on those medications right now? I don't know. But I would want to know about it so I can take action.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I have several friends on thyroid medicine, and the common theme that I hear is like, oh, this is something I'll be taking for the rest of my life. Basically, my thyroid is broken, whether I'm 20, 30, 50, whatever, and this is a medication I will be on for my life. So I know that as a holistic educator, your first step is to help people either before they get to the medication point or figure out what are some holistic things that you can do to maybe reduce or potentially be medicine free, right? So the prescription band-aids. Talk to us about maybe some natural lifestyle. And then go ahead and add the activation that you recommend on your podcast.
Sure. So everybody with any autoimmune disease has three things in common. Everybody has a genetic component, and that's just your predisposition to where your immune system is going to attack. So if you have a genetic component for, thyroid problems. Also, everybody with an autoimmune problem has a gut problem. Every single person, whether you feel like you're really constipated or not, there's always a gut component to autoimmune problems. And then every person with an autoimmune problem has one or more triggers. One of the most common is stress. And so let's start by addressing stress. We all have to address it. It's just so prevalent in our world. And one of the first things I do with people in my program, one of the first things I do or common things I do on the podcast is remind people to breathe. Breathe with your belly, your diaphragm. 10 deep diaphragmatic breaths. Try to do that before every meal. Try to do it before you go to sleep at night. Anytime you're feeling stressed, obviously you can switch your body into that rest and digest mode, but especially before you're going to rest or digest. So big diaphragmatic breaths to switch that nervous system. That's one of the biggest things you can do. But then also, we're going to look at all of the root causes. So I said genetic component, gut component, and triggers. One of the triggers is stress. But another trigger is environmental toxins that can range from the fluoride in your toothpaste or your drinking water to the chemicals around you that are cleaning. There's just so many things that we're exposed to. And that's one reason that I recommend every single person get on Protandim NRF2. And so that is something that activates your own body to create antioxidants. It's going to clean things up. It's also going to help with that genetic component. We can't change the genes that we have, but we can help them, not turn on or turn on. We can help them do what they're supposed to do. And that's the field of nutrigenomics, using nutrition for your genes. And Protandim helps that. The other thing I always recommend, of course, with thyroid problems, I was talking about that mitochondria. Every mitochondria needs a key to turn it on, but we need to support our mitochondria because we need that energy. We need the cellular energy. We need our cells giving back to our body what it needs. And so for everybody who listens to my podcast, everybody who I talk to about hypothyroid or Hashimoto's, I recommend something called the dual synergizer, which is Protandim NRF2 combined with Protandim NRF1. The NRF1 helps the mitochondria. And so with just those two things, you are addressing multiple root causes of Hashimoto's. And then, so let me recap quick. So we're going to look at stress. We're going to activate our NRF2 pathway and our NRF1 pathway. And then you can look at your other root causes. I mentioned gut health is always a big thing. So I love the LifeVantage activating collagen because your gut is mostly made up of collagen. It's a single cell thick. If you laid out your gut all by itself, it would be the size of a tennis court. And a tennis court, one cell thick, that needs a lot of attention in my mind. And so I love the LifeVantage activating collagen for that, just to help support it because we want to address our gut health. But also the GLP-1, the mind-body GLP-1 system also helps with gut health. Now, all of those things, the dual synergizer, the activating collagen, and the GLP system, they're all going to be helpful. It's really important that you know your own root causes. For a lot of people, blood sugar, like the ups and the downs, that is one of the biggest root causes for them. For me, that is one of my root causes. I am so quick to get hangry, or I was before I started the mind-body system. I would get hangry. I wouldn't feel my hunger. So then, I would get the weak and shaky. And as my body is going into starvation. And so doing the mind-body GLP-1 system has really, really helped my hormones in that way. And I know that it's helping with all those root causes because I don't want to have my immune system attacking my thyroid forever. I want to calm it down. Does that answer your question? It was really long.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I know that you have so many tools in your tool belt. So thank you for that. The last thing that I want to mention is we're going to be dropping more thyroid information and education into our Facebook community, Wellness Revolution. And so if you are not currently in that group, be sure, and whoever shared this video with you or invited you to the Zoom tonight, get with them and make sure that they invite you into the Wellness Revolution. Because Esther is a group expert and an admin in there, and she is going to be continuing to educate on this huge issue. You said 18 million people are on prescriptions every single year for this one tiny yet very important organ. So thank you so much for that, Esther.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this interview where I got to be the one answering questions. I hope that was a nice, fun change for you. I hope to see you either in the Wellness Revolution community on Facebook or on the Health with Hashimoto's community over on school.com. The links for both will be down in the show notes. And of course, the links for all of the products that I talk about are on my resource page. And that is also down in the show notes. You will find one master link that has everything on it. So I hope to see you in one of those communities, and I'll see you next week back here on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.